Our next guest quit the government in order to campaign for a second referendum. Gyimah, thank you very much for being with us. It feels with Brexit that sometimes we're just banging our head against a brick wall and not getting anywhere. So what's your view on what would be a realistic way to get us out of this impasse?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Well, the first thing is I actually resigned because I couldn't vote for Theresa May's withdrawal agreement. And I couldn't vote for it because I think whether you voted Leave or Remain, no sovereign country can sign a deal where everything the other side wants is in an international treaty that is legally binding, and everything that we could possibly want is in a document that could be reneged on. And I think we were giving up a lot and getting nothing in return. That's why I didn't vote for it. And then I began to look at how you solve the Brexit impasse. And the more I looked at it, the more I realised, actually, there is no majority for any Brexit option in Parliament. And I made this call back last December. And it seemed to be ahead of the time. But if we look at what's happening over the last few weeks, we've had indicative votes on all the different Brexit options, that there is no majority for anything. So if there's no majority for any Brexit option, what would happen is if Parliament came up with anything, people would regard it as some kind of stitch-up. So if Theresa May got away and had a customs union deal with Jeremy Corbyn, those who want no-deal Brexit would say that's a parliamentary stitch-up, they don't want it. If Theresa May's deal went through, those who want no-deal Brexit would say it's a stitch-up. And I thought, if that is where we're going to end up, where everyone is going to feel betrayed, then maybe the answer is to let the people back into the process, to actually say that now that we know what is negotiable, that they're willing to go ahead in those terms.
I mean, you say that there's no majority for anything in the House of Commons, which is clearly true, but the reason there's no majority is because MPs are just unwilling to compromise from their positions. We can have a little bit of a listen to what one of your former colleagues, Nick Bowles, said after he decided on Monday to quit the Conservative Party.
I have failed chiefly because my party refuses to compromise. I regret, therefore, to announce that I can no longer sit for this party.
Oh, Nick.
I mean, he's right, isn't he? And you didn't compromise either, did you? You didn't vote for anything.
No, I actually abstained on the options because if Parliament wanted to agree on these options, fine. I think Nick is a long-standing friend of mine, but what we've got to realise is every different Brexit path represents a very different future for our country. Those who want a no-deal Brexit see the economic future of our country ultimately as a trade deal with Donald Trump. Those who feel they want to protect manufacturing jobs in the north want a customs union with the EU. So if these are irreconcilable choices about the future direction in which we take the country, you can't split the difference. You can't split the difference if you feel that to protect manufacturing jobs in the Midlands, the most important thing is frictionless trade.
So what will you compromise on then? Because it feels as if the people who want a second referendum are just as intransigent as those who want a no-deal.
I think second referendum is not a Brexit outcome. It's a process. What none of us knew at the time of the first referendum was what was negotiable. My party set its red lines, not even knowing...
What do you want, then, other than a second referendum? I mean, most people would see that is... Some people would view that as just a way of saying that actually you want to remain, but you just don't want to say it.
I would campaign for Remain in a second referendum versus Theresa May's deal, because Theresa May's deal takes us out of the EU but delivers no material benefits. And we've almost got to the stage where we're saying to ourselves as a country, we just want to leave, irrespective of the deal, irrespective of the outcome, irrespective of the future that represents for us. And what I can see is if we're leaving our voice, our veto, I heard Jacob Rees-Mogg saying we could veto this, we could stop this. We're leaving all that we have in return for an uncertain future. Now, if someone was to be able to say to me that we could deliver what we said we'll deliver in our manifesto, which is we would have a bespoke trade deal that will not just preserve the current benefits, but put us in a position where we did better, then I'm all ears. But my position is not very different to John Redwood. When I listen to John Redwood in the House of Commons, I agree with him on his analysis of Theresa May's deal. Where we disagree is what do you do about it? And what he says, the way to deal with it is to go for no deal.
Okay.
And what I see is that no responsible government should go for that option. Now, if John Redwood were to come for an option that did not require disruption, that would hurt the most vulnerable people the most in this country, I'll be willing to sign up to it.
OK. Now, I'm also interested to know your thoughts on the direction of the Conservative Party. You gave an interview recently with the Evening Standard in which you said, amongst other things, this, the Tory party only talks to Brexiteers. It comes across as dismissive of those who are not. I mean, are you worried about the direction that your party's going in?
Well, I think, firstly, Brexit has so dominated everything that when we talk, it's as though the views of those who voted Brexit are the only views that matter. We don't even recognise that even amongst the Brexiteers, there are many different views amongst Brexiteers. At one event at my constituency, we established there were 7 different views of doing Brexit. They were all Brexiteers. But the key thing is the Conservative Party cannot be a one-nation party and only talk to half the population.
I mean, you've had some issues, haven't you, as well, with your local association? You faced 3 attempted deselections and a vote of no confidence. I mean, are people trying to get rid of you?
Well, that's over the space of 9 years. There is to be fair to my association, there is a small cabal that always see every election cycle as a reason to have another go. And get rid of me. And I've got quite used to it. I know who they are. And some of what Jess Phillips was saying has echoes with me, undermine things you do, twist everything, because that is their objective.
So why is that, do you think? Why are they trying to?
Who knows? I mean, my speculation is that, certainly from here and from what some of them are saying, in many ways, I'm probably a step in modernisation too far for them. You know, I think some of them, this particular group of people, have Tory heads and UKIP hearts. But I made a judgment call at the start of this Brexit process. I spent several years implementing Brexit as a minister. But then ultimately, when I saw Theresa May's Brexit deal, I said, this comes to the question of what am I in politics for? And we've got to have the guts to say to people the truth that we see. We're now at a point where we're willing to go ahead and do things that we know in some cases are not right because we can't face telling people that there are contradictions. That doesn't mean we don't do it, but it means people should be fully aware of all the difficulties and complexities of delivering Brexit. I'll give you one example that I have challenged with this group of people, the idea of an extension to Article 50. And I say, you know, Greenland, small Greenland, population 50,000, one industry fishing. It took them 3 years to come out of the EEC. We are the 5th largest economy in the world. We've been in the EU, which is far more integrated, for 45 years. My argument is the idea that we can negotiate and come out in 2 years doesn't work. But when I say this, people think you're just trying to frustrate the process. I think I'm levelling with people on the stark reality of the situation in which we are.
It was interesting hearing you say a little earlier in your answer that for some you think that you're a step in modernization.
I thought you were going to pick up on that.
Because it's interesting, you were a bit of a rising star under David Cameron, weren't you? You know, you were his parliamentary private secretary, you were a minister. Now you. I
wouldn't put him past tense, but carry on.
No, but now you felt that you've had to step back from the government to join the backbenchers. Do you feel that the Conservative Party's changed?
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to be an ex-minister, and I certainly didn't want to be an ex-minister at this stage in my career. But the country and the party face a very different challenge now. I don't think being a time-serving minister is what I want to be. I want to be out there and able to speak up on the big debates of our time. You know, free trade, the future of the party. Would have been, by the time the next election comes, whenever it comes, wouldn't be in power for too long.
What is your view on the future of the party? Putting Brexit aside, what is your view on that? Is it a risk?
I think the next election will be a time for change. And unless the Conservative Party can present itself as the party of change, we risk losing power to Jeremy Corbyn. That is a fact. If the Conservative Party can only speak to half the population and ignore the concerns of the other half, that is a problem. If the Conservative Party is a Brexit party, then it's a jammed radio signal for all the young people who have very different views of the future of our country. That will be a problem for us at the next election. If austerity is followed by a chaotic, disruptive, no-deal Brexit, that will be a stumbling block towards winning power, and in fact will hand power to Jeremy Corbyn. So, yes, we've done a great job in rescuing the economy, but I feel that the risks to us are great. We need a fresher party, we need a new vision of where we're going for, and we need a vision of hope. What we don't need is where we are, which is just be able to tick the box mark Brexit, whatever it means, just so we can say we've delivered. I think that will be letting the country down, and a party that lets the country down cannot be re-elected.